I do sincerely believe that organizations as a whole win.
Jerry Krause, the Bulls general manager, says, quote, organizations win titles, not players, end quote.
Have a sense of respect for the people who've laid the groundwork so that you can be a profitable organization.
Michael Jordan's disdain for Bulls general manager? Jerry Krause ran deep, so deep that even 6 championships couldn't mend their fractured relationship. Jordan nearly walked away from Chicago and blamed Krause for dismantling the legendary Bulls dynasty in 1998, but the roots of their conflict go back much further. Jerry Krause was a scouting savant and one of the most successful executives in sports history. Remarkably, he was the only person to serve as an executive in both the NBA and Major League Baseball. His NBA journey began in the 1960s as a scout for the Baltimore Bullets, where he quickly made his mark by identifying future Hall of Famers, Jerry Sloan and Earl the Pearlman Robe, from small programs. In the following years, Krause bounced around as a scout for several teams, including the Suns, 7, Sixers, Lakers, and Bulls, all while working in baseball as a scout for the Indians, Mariners, and White Sox. Krause had a reputation for being relentless, constantly watching players, tirelessly evaluating talent. In 1985, after Chicago White Sox owner Jerry Reinsdorf bought the Bulls, he appointed Krause as the team's general manager. Krause inherited a team in turmoil. Michael Jordan was already a rising star. But the rest of the roster, infamously nicknamed the Cocaine Circus, was underperforming. The Bulls had endured 4 straight losing seasons, finishing 3-8-4. In Jordan's rookie year, Krause's first move wasn't to draft a player, but to bring in Tex Winter as an assistant coach. He wanted Winter to install the triangle offense.
The first person we hired was Tex Winter. He's a brilliant man, the finest offensive mind in basketball.
A system that would later prove vital to the Bulls' championship success. Krause also signed John Paxson and traded for Charles Oakley, both of whom became important contributors and earned Jordan's respect. But trouble quickly emerged in Krause's first season. Jordan broke his ankle in just the 3rd game and was sidelined for months. Defying medical advice, Jordan began playing pickup games in North Carolina, eager to return. When he came back, the Bulls imposed a strict minutes limit, just 7.5 minutes per half. Krause personally enforced it, stopwatch in hand, signaling when Jordan had to be benched. Jordan was furious and confronted him. Krause later said, "I'm the only person in the NBA who's ever told him no. This kid has had his butt kissed by everybody in the world except his parents and me. My goal is not to be his friend. My goal is to win titles." But it wasn't just what Krause said, it was how he said it. At one point he told Jordan, "You're Bulls property now. We tell you what to do." To make matters worse, Krause brought a tape recorder to a team meeting about Jordan's minutes. Jordan felt blindsided and betrayed. "I was a young, enthusiastic kid, and that just made me realize this was a business, not a game." "We never hit it off after that," he recalled. The tension deepened during the 1986 NBA draft. Krause wanted to pick big man Brad Sellers, while Jordan pushed for Duke guard Johnny Dawkins. Krause told everyone he would take Dawkins' butt on draft day. He selected Sellers anyway. Jordan was livid and made Sellers' life miserable in practice, targeting him just because he was Krause's choice. Still, Krause had an eye for talent. In the 1987 draft, he pulled off a masterstroke. He was the only GM to scout Scottie Pippen from the tiny University of Central Arkansas. "When I first saw Scottie play, I almost had an orgasm," Krause famously said. After Seattle picked Pippen at No. 5, Krause traded the 8th pick.
The Seattle Supersonics select Scott Pippen of Central Arkansas.
Olden Polinas and future assets to get him. He also drafted Horace Grant, securing 2 cornerstone players in one draft. But
The Seattle club took him for us, and then we acquired him.
Even when Krause got it right, he managed to make Jordan angry. In 1988, Krause traded Charles Oakley, Jordan's best friend and enforcer, to the Knicks for center Bill Cartwright. Though Cartwright was a better fit for the triangle offense, Jordan hated the deal. It wasn't just losing a teammate. He and Oakley learned about the trade by watching the news. After that, Jordan's disdain for Krause became public. He and Oakley nicknamed him Crumbs, because of his disheveled appearance, and because they often saw food stains on his shirt. Jordan refused to greet Krause in the hallway and constantly mocked him in front of teammates and the media. Feud escalated again in 1989 when Krause fired head coach Doug Collins, with whom Jordan was close. Jordan was the league's best player by then and felt entitled to some say in the organization's decisions. He went to owner Jerry Reinsdorf and issued an ultimatum: either Krause goes or he does. Reinsdorf sided with Krause and urged Jordan to be patient. Krause's choice to replace Collins was Phil Jackson, a relatively unknown assistant coach at the time.
Now, if you're getting ready for work right now, then you're probably not Doug Collins. Chicago Bulls head coach was fired in a surprise move yesterday.
Phil Jackson would later become one of the most successful coaches in NBA history at the time. It was another decision Jordan resented because it wasn't his. Over the years, Krause's talent evaluation and front office moves built the foundation of the Bulls dynasty. But his abrasive style and obsession with getting credit for the team's success drove a wedge between him and Jordan. Krause famously said, "Players and coaches alone don't win championships. Organizations do." To Jordan, it felt like a personal insult, as if Krause was minimizing the role of the players. The friction never healed. Even as they won 6 titles together, the distrust and animosity remained. In 1998, Krause refused to bring back Jackson and made it clear he was ready to rebuild, effectively ending the dynasty and giving Jordan one last reason to walk away. Phil Jackson's journey to becoming an NBA head coach was anything but conventional before landing in the league. He coached minor league teams like the Albany Patroons and worked in Puerto Rico. Despite his success, NBA teams didn't take him seriously. His unconventional clothing, Zen philosophy, and countercultural vibe turned executives off. By 1987, Jackson was nearly out of options. Facing the possibility of filing for unemployment or going back to law school, he made a last-ditch call to Jerry Krause. Krause gave him a shot as an assistant coach because Jackson was willing to run the triangle offense and take the ball out of Michael Jordan's hands to emphasize team play. Krause believed Jackson was the ideal person for the system. It's likely Jackson would never have coached in the NBA without Krause's support. Ironically, this early trust would later contribute to the collapse of their relationship. At first, though, the partnership worked beautifully. In Jackson's second season as head coach, the Bulls had the best record in the NBA, finally defeated the Pistons, and beat the Lakers in the finals for their first title. Nearly every key player besides Jordan had been drafted or acquired by Krause, affirming his reputation.
3-time NBA World Champion Chicago Bulls. Congratulations. It's a great accomplishment.
As an elite team builder. In 1992, the Bulls won their second straight championship, but Jordan's feud with Krause remained heated. During the Summer Olympics in Barcelona, Jordan and Scottie Pippen played on the iconic Dream Team. But they had more than gold on their minds. They had a personal vendetta. Krause had been publicly hyping Toni Kukoc, a Croatian forward drafted by the Bulls in 1990, who had chosen to stay in Europe.
Superstar Michael Jordan is back in the game, and he'll play with the Bulls later today.
Krause constantly praised Kukoc's skill set, which irritated Jordan and Pippen. To them, it felt like Krause was more loyal to a player who wasn't even on the team than to those winning titles. In a group stage game against Croatia, Jordan...
The Bulls announced the acquisition of a player many people consider the most controversial basketball star in the NBA.
And Pippen teamed up to humiliate Kukoc, hounding him defensively and holding him to just 4 points, 2v11 shooting, and 7 turnovers. After Jordan retired in 1993, Kukoc finally joined the Bulls and quickly proved Krause had been right all along. He became a vital piece of the team's future. Around the same time, Krause added Steve Kerr, who had been dismissed by most teams because of his size, but Krause saw him as the best shooter in the league. In 1994, he also traded for the little-known Luke Longley and signed free agent Ron Harper, 2 more moves that paid off. When Jordan returned in 1995, the Bulls were missing Horace Grant and lacked interior strength, which cost them in the playoffs against Orlando.
This will be Phil's last year as the coach of the Bulls. At the conclusion of the year, we'll look towards the future.
The problem? Krause traded for Dennis Rodman, who had worn out his welcome across the league because of his erratic behavior.
Owner Jerry Reinsdorf has finally come to his senses, signing Phil Jackson to a one-year deal to return as coach next season.
Again, Krause was right. Rodman was a perfect fit. Alongside Jordan, Pippen, Kukoc, Harper, Kerr, and Longley, Rodman helped lead the Bulls to an NBA-era record 72 wins and their fourth championship. The team repeated
I do sincerely believe that organizations as a whole win.
This in 1997. And almost all of Krause's roster moves had proven correct. But then, everything began to unravel. Krause's relationship with Jackson soured. Krause was upset that Jackson didn't defend him when Jordan made fun of him in public. Loyalty was everything to Krause, and he believed Jackson owed him for his entire coaching career. When Jackson laughed along with one of Jordan's
is as underpaid gets, only the 122nd highest paid player in the league.
Jokes, Krause felt betrayed. After the 1997 title, Krause wanted to replace Jackson, but Reinsdorf stepped in and negotiated a one-year extension for Phil.
Krause is now demanding a trade, and he says he will not return from the injured list until he has gone from Chicago.
Reluctantly agreed, but told the media that no matter what happened, even if the Bulls went 82-0 and won the championship,
I have choices, and I will not choose to play for another coach.
Jackson would not return after the 1998 season. At the same time, Krause made a statement that infuriated Jordan even more. He said he believed organizations as a whole win championships, not just players and coaches. For Jordan,
Jackson cleaned out his office at the Chicago Bulls practice facility and made it official. After 9 years and 6 NBA titles, he is done as the Bulls coach.